is that accountability expressed? How is it displayed? What are you doing? What are you actually doing? Don't say we have accountability. Okay, how? How are you? Well, the loss was punishment. No, it's not. No, it's not. Well, we had a nice talk. I don't care about some nice talk. I don't care if it's nice or not. Fix it. Stop making stupid mistakes. Stop losing games because you're stupid, and stop losing games because your players are stupid. How are you going to fix that? Have as many nice conversations as you want. Why should I think your nice conversations are going to stop you from being stupid and stop your players from being stupid? That's what I want to know.
What did you want to hear, Dan? What give me specifically.
I would like to hear something at least to the effect of, first of all, again, him not saying it starts with me, him saying, here's where I messed up. These are the places where I told the players I messed up. I should have done this. I should have done this. Looking at it again, obviously, I should have done this. We should have taken a timeout before that final play. Somebody in the building, somebody in the arena should have seen the fact that we had a key player out of position. We should have called timeout. That's a start of things. But if you're Mr. Hits principle, you say, I have a zero tolerance policy for people making a mockery of the foundation of what and how I coach. And here's what I'm doing about it.
I understand and I agree with you that that's what could have been said regarding him diagramming the failure of the play. But I also ask this. What NFL coach has said where they failed on a particular play?
I think it's happened. I can't name it off
I know
the top of my
Dan
head.
Campbell's done it.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell does it.
Year,
and I
year,
feel like Dan Campbell will do it in a more general way. I don't necessarily know about the diagramming of specific
Last year, it was a play. He said, that's my fault. Bad call.
Are you talking about like when he went for fourth down?
He said, I made a bad
call.
Yeah, on the short side of the field.
Yeah,
this really isn't
that's
hard.
probably, I think that's a little, I even think that's a little different because they don't get into specifics usually.
This mealy mouth. Well, I appreciate your question. That's him. Just like, well, I understand. I need some more time to think of a satisfactory answer on this. I appreciate your question. Means I don't have an answer.
It doesn't have to mean I don't have an answer. It can mean I don't want to share the honest answer with you, the media. Because here's what I've learned over the course of time, and just accentuated with an exclamation point on this press conference. When he talks about accountability, he definitely ain't talking about accountability to the fan base or to the media. He's talking about accountability within that building. And what that means is to the front office, the players, the staff, and ownership. That's the only accountability that he's talking about. Because when they don't have a good enough record at the end of the season, he will be held accountable in that he will lose his job. That's what he's...
Well, that's coming regardless.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So he's like, what's the point of me bringing everybody else into it if it's not going to make a difference? It's a bottom line business. It's an end results business. I understand why you want the answers.
Don't be scared.
I understand why you want the answers. I understand why you want him to be a guy that he's not.
I just want to look like a coach.
But
sound like an NFL coach for once.
Matt Eberflus is Matt Eberflus, and we have to accept that. And we have to accept that. No, it is good luck because as I've established, I don't think he's good enough right now. I'm giving him room to grow. Some people have stopped giving him room to grow, and that is understandable, and I understand why you would not. But to not give him room to grow at this point of the season with this much talent on the roster, Dan.
I went out of my way the entire offseason.
We know.
To say I was rooting for him. I was impressed with his desire to get better.
You even gave him the mulligan after 3 weeks.
I said I bent over backwards, going against everything I thought after that first press conference.
And my point is this. We're still following this team. We're still all in on Caleb Williams' development. There are certain things. We haven't even talked about Caleb Williams. And he had a bad game on Sunday. We have barely scratched the surface on Caleb Williams.
Team game.
He had an awful game. And he did hold himself accountable. When asked about the Hail Mary today, you know what he said? I got to do a better job in the first half. I've got to lead this offense and score more points so that we're not in that situation. Dan wants something like that from Matt Eberflus talking about the end of the game.
There were obvious mistakes. There were clear and obvious mistakes.
I'm with you.
No accountability for those mistakes.
I'm with you.
Zero.
Maybe there was accountability in that building. We don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this. If they lose on Sunday to the Cardinals, are you pointing to this as part of the reason why?
Not necessarily. I got to see the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with him on
it
that.
depends. If there's more stupid penalties, and we hear afterwards from the same captains about more bad practices, and we see more fog of war on the sideline, but nobody knows where everybody is, we'll judge every game as we judge every game. It's just that when a coach starts to when his authority starts to erode, you don't get it back. You don't get it back.
I just think that there are too many parallels being drawn between a much different group of people. Just because the behavior might be similar, personality-wise.
I didn't mention Trestman. I just said when you lose authority, you don't get it back. I saw it happen with Wannstedt too.
I know there's a lot of comparisons from one coaching era to another, but I do think this group of players, from everything I could tell when we talk about the leadership councils, the ones that have spoken up, and we heard from Caleb today, and hopefully we'll be able to get to some of that. But I think this group of players in this age, you have to be able to share that responsibility with them. And I think that's what he's trying to do here. Now, he ultimately may not be a good enough head coach. I told you, I'm not convinced. People are on me 2 or 3 weeks ago about how can you not, they've won 3 in a row, blah, 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 during the bye week. I was like, yo, they haven't done anything for me to get all excited about. I'm not getting lathered up over a 3-game winning streak against mid to terrible teams.
That's because we're looking at patterns here. We're trying to evaluate a big picture. And the issue to me is it's kind of what Robert Mays hit on a couple segments ago. If you missed it, go back and listen on Rewind on the Odyssey app. And I do that all the time. But it's Robert Mays talking about what the Bears did specifically this year. They started their quarterback clock. It's like they had 2 years free space, right? You didn't want to say you changed. You didn't want to say you rebuilt, but that's what you did. That's what you did to earn your 2 years free space to start this quarterback clock. And the bigger question is, and this is a huge data point in this, is how are you going to evaluate this based on whether or not you have enough time on that clock to be with this head coach?
Yeah, I think the Matt Eberflus window is coming to a close at the end of this season. If he doesn't have a good season this year, and a good season to me is looking at, have to see how the games play out. Remember, this is a team that hasn't lost a game by more than a score yet this season. They're 4-3, but no one's taking them behind the woodshed. But that's twofold. It's like no one's beating them down, but all these games seem very winnable. And so then you start looking at the coaching staff, and did they do enough to make a difference from a coaching standpoint? That there's enough talent on this roster to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, but is there enough to then, do the next thing, which is win?
You got to get to the playoffs first. But
learning on the job doesn't really allow you to do the other thing.
Caleb Williams, to me, is the only one who should be, quote unquote, learning on the job. Caleb and Rome Odunze and whatever else rookie. Everybody else,
then you have your
time.
answer about Matt Eberflus.
I'm getting it. I'm gathering an answer right now.